Alrighty. Tonight, we are going to go ahead and conclude this teaching about how God demonstrates his power through the earth and through the land. So if y'all ready, let's continue taking this ride, get it knocked on out. Low, hi, and howdy. I'm JK Moore. Welcome back to Breaking Tradition. So, for the past couple of weeks, just like I said, we've been looking at how God demonstrates his power through the element of earth and through the land, usually by way of his anger when he's upset at something or some things that humanity has done. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump right on into it. All right. And all of the rest of this teaching will be coming from the book of Revelation. We're going to start with Revelation chapter 5, looking at verse number 13. Excuse me. Revelation chapter 5, verse number 13. And it reads, "And then I heard every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth and in the sea. They sang, blessing and honor and glory and power belong to the one sitting on the throne and to the Lamb forever and ever." Okay, so right away, we're starting off with John, the Apostle John, who wrote the book of Revelation, describing one of the many visions that he saw in heaven. Included this one because it said every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth. So what does that mean, every creature? Is that just a word he was using just for humanity? No. When he says every creature, he means every single creature, every living being, okay, that has blood coursing and pumping through his body some type of way, shape, or form, were giving praise to its creator. Not just God the Father, but also to the Lamb forever and ever, or Jesus the Christ. So we humans, we like to think that we've arrived, that we're the top of the food chain, so to speak. But in conversations I have with people, when it comes to animals in particular, they have a way better understanding about their relationship to their creator, Father God, than most humans do. Or in other words, to say, whenever animals get into it, mix it up with each other, tussle it up, okay, it's not for greedy purposes like trying to get more land or trying to get more money or hating another species of animal because they're different. They look different than them, things like that. No, it's strictly for survival mode, and that is it. So every single creature, just because we can't understand the sounds that they might make, well, God can naturally because he created them. And just like us, another one of his creations, all creation was made to serve and to service God the Father, to give him and him alone the praise. So very, very interesting. Another parallel to this particular scripture, verse number 13, is when we go back to what we covered at the beginning of this, the creation of every animal on the earth, including the actual earth itself, the land. And when God created Adam, he gave him dominion over the birds of the air, everything that crawleth, walketh, creepeth on the land, and every fish or every marine mammal. Exactly what we see right here. Every single creature, including the ones in the sea. So this would definitely include the birds and the animals of the air as well. So a lot of what we're going to see here in Revelation is going to contrast what we saw in Genesis, which makes perfect sense because the book of Genesis, it means the beginning, the start, the creation of it all. And then, of course, the book of Revelation is talking about the end of it all, up to a certain extent, but I don't want to jump ahead. So let's go to the next one here. Okay. Like I said, all of this coming from Revelation, but now hop over to chapter 6. We're going to look at verse number 12. Revelation chapter 6, looking at verse number 12. And it reads, I watched as the Lamb broke the sixth seal, and there was a great earthquake. The sun became as black cloth, or as dark as black cloth, and the moon became as red as blood. So, for all the other astronomical aficionados out there, all the other people who pay attention to what goes on with the heavenly bodies, this really isn't too far of a stretch to think about this. Excuse me, any of these events. Okay, we've definitely experienced earthquakes, the sun becoming as dark as black cloth. Now, that's interesting. It could actually mean that the sun, the star, which our solar system, all our planets revolve around, itself, through whatever means, could be an angel, could be a fallen angel. Who knows? But it could mean that the actual star itself becomes totally black. In other words, it's not giving off all that great, wonderful light that we depend on. Or he could be describing some event to where a giant eclipse takes place. But either way, whichever one of them is, he saw the sun getting dark. It was not shining light on the planet Earth. The moon becoming as red as blood. Again, that should not be too far of a stretch of the imagination for anybody. We have what they actually call blood moons all the time. Matter of fact, we just had one here, about maybe 3 weeks ago? Where, yes, for a period of time, the moon actually does take on a reddish color as opposed to its usual light bluish white color. But whatever this event is going to be something, because remember, y'all, what we've been talking about, yes, a lot of this stuff always does take place, but what's being described in these particular verses that we're looking at, we're talking about a greater power of those events taking place. So the Lamb, Jesus, when he broke this seal, okay, again, we could be talking about the sun going completely out. Just fizzing totally out for however long. And the moon, again, becoming red as blood. Moon can stay in that state. Usually when we get these blood moons, they could last for literal minutes up to an hour or more. Well, in this verse of scripture right here, it could mean that the moon turned as red as blood, and it might stay like that until the end of all this. Yeah, we don't know, but we're going to see. And again, another earthquake, a great earthquake. Could it be one of the big one, as they describe, one of them 5.0 magnitudes? And this is only guessing because we're not told, I would guess that it was, if not that magnitude, then probably close to it. Because remember, these seals, all at this point in Revelation, when these seals are being broken, these are judgments coming onto the earth and onto the people of the earth. Again, another contrast, just like the judgments that God sent against Egypt, when Pharaoh kept reneging on his word and wouldn't let the Israelites go. All right. So let's hop over to the next one. So now we're going to the book of, still in Revelation, we're going to the chapter of 11. We're going to look at verses 12, 13, and then verse 19. Then a loud voice from heaven called to the two prophets, "Come up here." And they rose to heaven in a cloud as their enemies watched. At the same time, there was a terrible earthquake that destroyed 1/10 of the city. 7,000 people died in that earthquake, and everyone else was terrified and gave glory to the God of heaven. Then in heaven, the temple of God was open, and the ark of his covenant could be seen inside the temple. Lightning flashed, thunder crashed and roared, and there was an earthquake and a terrible hailstorm. I was telling a friend of mine that even though Revelation is my favorite book out of the entire Bible, up until this point where I started doing this particular teaching, I had never realized how many times earthquakes are mentioned just in that one book alone. Many instances. And well, of course, as you see, we're covering a few of them. So these two prophets, which have been the debate for years of who these two prophets are. We're not told specifically who they are, but some people think that is Elijah and Elisha. Some people think that it's Elijah and Enoch. Some people think it's one of the other Old Testament prophets. We don't know because we're not told specifically. What was, again, generally agreed upon is that it is definitely two of the people that appear in the Old Testament of the Bible, including, again, possibly Enoch from the books of Enoch. And what happened here and why these people were so afraid is because they killed the two, or so they thought. No, yeah, they were dead. And they laid in the street for 3 days until God breathed life back into them and then told them where we start at right here in verse number 12. And then there was a terrible earthquake. Awesome parallel and contrast to the verses that we looked at in the book of Luke last week, where when Jesus was being crucified, when he died and it said he gave up the ghost, it said that the earth shook, not an earthquake, the earth shook, which leads me to believe that this was worldwide. With just a giant worldwide earthquake, not localized to one particular place. And it also said at the same time that the dead in the cemetery rose from their graves and walked into the city, which makes complete sense to me. Okay, we're talking about Jesus here, God in the flesh, power literally incarnate, walking here on the earth. So, of course, when he died and that rush, that flood of power went out, it was so strong that it brought the dead back to life. Right after or right during that worldwide earthquake. Another contrast, or more so an illustration to what Jesus did for us. It was by him dying that we are born again or brought back to life. Just like the dead bodies in the cemetery. And those bodies, oh no, those bodies were dead, okay? Dead and buried. But again, the power of Jesus caused them to come up out their graves. And I don't know how the Old Testament people in Jerusalem did their burials. Okay, I don't know if they 6 feet deep them like we're accustomed to do here in the U.S. But the fact of the matter is, it said that the bodies got up and they walked into the city. So however it was done, they pushed their way through and went and hung out in the city for some undisclosed amount of time. We never are told how long they were there. Also, now that I think about it, we were never told if they went back to being dead again and went back to the cemetery. But still, not to veer too far off track here. Okay, we're still talking about earthquakes. A terrible earthquake, and now we're actually given a number as to how many people were affected by one of these earthquakes. And isn't that interesting? 7,000 people, 7, the number of completion and perfection, which is why God, the Father, and Jesus, the Christ, always reference and use that particular number, 7. So yes, perfection and completion. And then in heaven itself, he saw crashed. There was another earthquake and a terrible hailstorm. Good grace, we don't know if this second earthquake took place like right after the first one did in verse number 13, a day after, hours after, whatever. But I think this is the first time we're looking in the same chapter of one of these where two earthquakes take place like that or are mentioned back to back just within a couple of verses of each other. So again, God demonstrating his power, either anger or just straight up demonstrations to have to remind these people that, yeah, I'm the top dog here. Okay, y'all ain't, none of y'all got nothing on me. And also shook these people, these same ones that were walking by the two dead prophets' bodies, laughing at them, picking at them. Oh, we thought you all were so strong. Where's your God now? Well, after they witness all this here, them getting up, rising from the dead, this terrible earthquake, and immediately they changed that tune. It didn't say a few people, it said everyone else was terrified and gave glory to the God of heaven. The same God that they were, a couple of days before, and even during the 3 days they were dead, talking junk to him. And yes, it was 3 days that these two prophets were dead. Like I said, all the contrast, all the parallels with Jesus the Christ. So earthquakes, one after the other. God showing these people, I ain't playing with you. Okay, now let's go over to chapter 16. We're going to look at verses 18 through 20. Okay, and they read, then the thunder crashed and rolled, and lightning flashed, and a great earthquake struck, the worst since people were placed on the earth. The great city of Babylon split into 3 sections, and the cities of many nations fell into heaps of rubble. So God remembered all of Babylon's sins, and he made her drink the cup that was filled with the wine of his fierce wrath. And every island disappeared, and all the mountains were level. Okay, you want to talk about the big one taking place? Clearly, this is it right here. The biggest of the big ones when it comes to earthquakes. And it even mentions it in verse number 18, the worst since people were placed on the earth. This one was even more powerful than the one that happened when Jesus died, when it said that he gave up the ghost. The worst, the worst. So this right here, this particular earthquake, this great earthquake, when this one takes place, yeah, that's the big one. The city of Babylon, which is in modern day, you can find it in southern Iraq. Said it's split into 3 sections. Cities, many nations fell into rubble. It explains that not only is it talking about the actual city of Babylon physically or naturally, it's also talking about the spiritual Babylon, the evil system of worship and fellowship and idolatry, all sexual immorality, all these things that are taking place here and are going to fall. So in other words, it's saying that this particular moment right here, this is when God is like, okay, all bets are off when it comes to that spiritual system and when it comes to that place. Everything that place birthed and represented is all coming down. Every bit of it. Every island disappeared and the mountains were leveled. Okay, talking about God demonstrating his power through the land and through the earth. These 3 verses right here are what I would say is the greatest demonstration of his anger, of his wrath, of his judgment, as far as it goes, him demonstrating his power using the earth and the land. Can y'all imagine that every single mountain on this planet was leveled? Okay, Everest, Kilimanjaro, the Smokies, the Rockies, the Appalachians, and all the rest of them. They all coming down during this time right here. Ain't going to even look like mountains no more. People who weren't born at this time and even aware of them, when they do walk and look at them, they're going to look just like regular flat land. just like most people live on. They're only going to know these things by pictures and stories of how high in the air they used to stand. Because it ain't going to be that way no more. So, yep, we got it right here. The big one. Okay. And to wrap it all up, Revelation 22. Oops, my bad. Like I didn't finish putting it up there, but it's just verses number 1 and 2. So chapter 22, verses 1 and 2. Then I saw subheading for this section is the New Jerusalem. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the old heaven and the old earth had disappeared, and the sea was also gone. And I saw the holy city, the New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, like a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. Okay. Contrast, parallels. Started this teaching off in the book of Genesis, looking at when God first created the earth. It was without form. Okay, then he formed it. Then the waters were covering it. Then he caused the land, the earth, to rise up from out of the waters. Then he started creating all the plants, the animals, and then finally us. The start of it all. What we're looking at right here is the end of our current earth. And it makes complete and total sense because, like I said, just in this book of Revelation alone, how many earthquakes have we seen and experienced? And that's just the earthquakes. That ain't even taking into account all the other things that happen when all the rest of those seals are broken, when the trumpets are blown, the battle at Armageddon, fallen angels being released from bottomless pits, just everything put together. The earth won't be fit for habitation anymore. And we just saw about the great earthquake, mountains being leveled, islands being swallowed up. So yeah, God's going to do away with it all and create a whole brand new one, and it's going to be restored right back to basics, back to the way that he originally intended this earth to go and to run. Because, like I said, but after all that devastation and war and everything else, nah, man, ain't no good. Now, truth be told, yeah, he could just, snap and clean it all up, get it all back to, but no, he wants to do away with all the old way, because by this point, it's all gone. Satan is finally gone, completely and totally gone, judged and sent to the lake of fire for all eternity. That also includes all the fallen angels. That includes every evil spirit, every strong man, and by this point, every human soul that died outside of the covering of the blood washing of Jesus the Christ. So all sin, even death itself, all of it, tossed into the lake of fire. Says death and hell were thrown into the lake of fire, which makes complete sense, because at this point here, you won't need a waiting place for dead souls anymore, because people are never going to die again. Nope. So all brand new. Beautiful description of this new earth and this new Jerusalem too. Wonderful. The sea gone. Now, in our current earth, right now, we depend on the seas. We depend on the oceans, quite literally, for our very survival. So some people might say, well, wait a minute, if the seas are gone, how are we going to, well, continue reading in this book and in Revelation 21, and it explains it. This new heaven and new earth get established. Jesus himself will now be dwelling with us on the earth. And every single thing that people need, those who are still alive, those who are living like a human existence now, is going to be provided for by him. He says, out of him will flow rivers and fountains of living water. And the glory of him and this new heaven is going to be so bright, so pure, so beautiful. That's why there's going to also be no longer a need for the sun and the moon. He will be lighting up the entire earth, more than likely in the entire solar system. Heck, who knows? Probably the entire universe. But, let's keep it to earth right now since this is where we're at. But yeah, he will provide that same type of life-giving, nourishing light like the sun used to. And the purposes and functions of the moon, he's going to do that too. All food is going to be provided by him. It is going to be, again, the way it was originally intended to be. So yeah, I was like, this is definitely the one to end on. We started with how this earth got created. We're going to end on the end of this earth, but the creation of the new and the next earth. And I, for one, am looking very much forward to this because I already know it is going to be awesome. It is going to be awesome. Okay. All right, good people. That is all we have for this particular teaching. So the element of earth, as we saw, usually with these earthquakes and things, it was God demonstrating his anger. It was God trying to say, hey, you all need to get back in line. It was God demonstrating his judgment. But we're still here, most of us. But then it's going to come the big one. We're going to level all these things out and knock them right on out the box. And then there's going to come the formation after all the bloodshed and the wars and the evil on the planet. After all that's wrapped up and done away with, then a brand new untainted earth and land, pure earth and land. God blessed earth and land. And me personally, I don't think things like earthquakes are going to occur anymore on this new earth. But like I said, that's me, my own personal opinion. Don't have no biblical scripture to back that up. That's just my personal opinion. Also, it makes sense of the seas and the oceans being dried up. Because for those people who aren't like we are now living in the church age, who one day are going to transition out of these bodies, become spiritual, then he's going to raise our bodies up, reform them to a new spiritual state. The people who are going to be living and born during this time, let me bring it back up, during this new earth time, because remember, there's going to be no more death. And that's how we humans, for all these thousands of years, possibly millions, have been able to function and live, because as new people are born, there are people who die out. They pass on. And remember, we only got roughly 20-25% of the land to use, because the rest of the Earth's surface currently is covered by the oceans. But when you have a species who's not going to be dying out, and who are most assuredly, probably still, no doubt, repopulating the earth, just like it was in the beginning, be fruitful and multiply, and those people are going to repopulate and repopulate. Well, you got to have space for all these people, because nobody's going to be dying. Makes total sense why the sea will be gone, because that is just, my God, miles upon miles of freed up real estate for people to be able to spread out into. So you got that, plus you got the spiritual component of however the Father and the Son are going to do their thing to also make sure that there's space for people on here. But okay, saying all that to say it ain't gonna be a problem no more. So again, like I said, I think that's awesome. Okay. Well, all right, y'all. Like I said, that is all we have for this week. Thank y'all so much, as always, for joining this old country boy and listen to me jaw on about it for a little while. If you all would, please do all that good YouTube and Rumble things for me. Like the video, drop a comment. Let me know your opinions about this new heaven and new earth. How you think things are going to be, what you think might be here, what you think might not be here. I would love to talk to you. Love to talk to you. Want to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions on this or your revelations. God could have given you a specific revelation about this. So, yep, definitely drop a comment. And, of course, share the video. Subscribe to the channels on YouTube. Subscribe to the follow the channel on Rumble if you already haven't. And for those of you all who want to listen to the episode again on the go, you can head on over to Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Audible, and Spreaker.com. Type Breaking Tradition in the search box. It'll take you right to it. And you can listen to the audio version again. Both video and audio versions are completely for free. No subscription, no membership. So you can download them, watch them, listen to them, share them to your heart's content. Okay, so go hog wild on it. All right, guys. So, Lord willing, we will be back here next week to do it all again. In the meantime, stay watchful, stay prayed up, and remember, it's fine to love yourself, but try to love other people just a little bit more, even if you have to do it from afar. I completely understand. Okay, I'm there with you. I'm right there with you. I understand how it goes. All right, but that is the greatest commandment: love, love, love. So let's seek to do it. And like I said, God willing, we will be back here next week and do it all again. So until then, thank you all so much for your love, your prayers, and your support. And I will see y'all when I see you. Peace.